The SuperMarket Memoirs, Kentucky Fried, written by MPZ 1968. Can I try a slice of that? If I had a nickel for every time I've been asked that question, I could buy my own deli and be my own boss. Anyway, how are you doing today? I'm Melanie. I'm the new deli manager here at Barnaby's. I've been here for about a week now. I called that 1-800 number that Zeke mentioned in his post, but that's a different story. Anyway, I came in for an interview and Pat, Mr. Barnaby, hired me on the spot, just like that. I guess he liked my resume. You see, I've been working in delis up and down the East Coast since I was 17. It's all I know. This is my first time being a manager, though, let alone in a supermarket. This is on a much bigger level. We have a full-size deli, as well as a bakery, a hot bar, and a cake-making station. I'm responsible for all of it. Oh, and we also fry chicken. I didn't know this until I got hired. But Barnaby's is a very old store. We still have one of those old chicken fryers where you actually have to drop the chicken into the vat and then pull it out with tongs when it floats to the top. There's no basket, no temperature control. You just turn it on and hope that it doesn't explode. Anyway, it's going to be a challenge because I've always worked in little mom and pop shops before this. And for those of you that don't know what a mom and pop shop is, that's a small business, usually only one establishment, owned by an older couple, usually. So far, the people that shop here are friendly, although you do get that one customer every now and then that makes you want to say bad words. Sometimes you even want to make up a few. Anyway, I heard from a couple of night crew guys that Mr. Barnaby is looking for stories about weird and horrible events that happen here. He was off the day that this happened. Anyway, a couple of days ago, I arrived to work about 6:55 a.m. I punched in, did my morning paperwork, and then headed to the department. I turned on the lights, put the slicers back together, and started the ovens. I saw a note on the board from the closer saying that there was an order for 16 pieces of chicken to be picked up by noon. Okay, no problem, I thought. The other deli associates started to arrive as scheduled, and we opened the deli at 8 o'clock. Everything was going good. 10 o'clock came. I turned on the fryer so that it could heat up. I hit the exhaust fan, and I continued to wait on customers. About 20 minutes went by, and the fryer started making a strange buzzing sound and shaking a little. I looked over to see that the grease was boiling, like a pan of water on a stove. I yelled over to Tommy, my assistant, to turn off the fryer and unplug it. Now, as I said, it's a very old fryer. The controls are on the back panel, not the front like the newer ones. Anyway, he reached over the fry vat to turn it off, and as soon as he did, the grease exploded upwards directly into his face. He screamed, grabbing his face and stepping backwards, knocking over an empty cooling rack and falling to the floor. I've never heard anyone scream like that before. It was horrifying. Anyway, hot grease was dripping off the fan and the ceiling, which started melting from the extreme temperatures. Tommy stopped screaming. Pieces of ceiling tiles started falling on the floor and on top of Tommy, who had passed out from the pain at this point. At least, that's what I thought. And the smell, oh God, did it smell? It smelled like, well, it smelled like burnt flesh and chicken. The customers just stood there watching and taking pictures. The freaks. Anyway, I ran over to him. Now, I probably shouldn't have done this, but I grabbed his wrist and moved his hands away from his face. His skin was melted together and it looked like string cheese as I pulled them apart. I turned my head and threw up right on a tray of cherry turnovers. I glazed them real good. I'm never eating cheese again. that's for sure. Anyway, blood was pouring everywhere. Pieces of flesh started falling off his face, as well as burnt muscle and tissue, exposing his skeletal bones. His eyes were completely burned away. I knew I was wrong, that he wasn't passed out. He was dead. One of our other associates ran and called the cops. They showed up and shut down the store. The sheriff didn't respond, but that's a different story. Anyway, the coroner arrived and put Tommy into a body bag and took him away. I couldn't stop crying. I'm starting to tear up right now. Anyway, the deli's been shut down now for the last 2 days while the forensic team processes the scene. They say that it should be open again by tomorrow. Anyway, I haven't been able to sleep the last couple of nights because of the nightmares. I called a therapist, and I'm sitting in her waiting room right now writing this, waiting to be seen. Oh yeah, and by the way, the customer that ordered that chicken meal, well, they called as we were all leaving. The order was canceled.